Every few years, one supplement rises above the noise. It spreads through podcasts, short-form videos, wellness blogs, gym locker rooms. People start saying the same things over and over again. It changed my sleep. My anxiety disappeared. My muscles finally stopped cramping. My focus came back. And right now, that supplement is magnesium. When something becomes this popular, it triggers two very different instincts. One is excitement. Maybe this is the missing piece. The other is skepticism, because hype has a long history of outrunning truth. And the moment everyone starts insisting you must take something is usually the exact moment to pause and ask a better question. Not does this work, but what is actually happening inside the body? Magnesium is not a trend invented by the internet. It's not a biohacker shortcut or a wellness fad with a clever name. Magnesium is an essential mineral, and that word essential is not negotiable. It means that without it, your body simply cannot function. Not optimally, not poorly, it cannot function at all. What most people don't realize is how deeply magnesium is embedded into the machinery of life. This isn't a nutrient that helps with one isolated process. It's woven into hundreds of them. Over 300 enzymatic reactions depend on magnesium to even begin. And enzymes are not optional extras. They are the switches that turn chemistry into biology. Without them, the reactions that keep you alive slow down or stop. One of magnesium's most critical roles is stabilizing ATP, the energy currency of every single cell in your body. ATP is what allows muscles to contract, neurons to fire, and the heart to beat rhythmically without conscious effort. But ATP on its own is unstable. It requires magnesium to hold it in a usable form. Without enough magnesium, energy production becomes inefficient. The system still runs, but it runs rough. This is why one of the earliest and most common signs of low magnesium isn't dramatic. It's vague. It's fatigue that doesn't make sense. It's feeling drained even when nothing obvious is wrong. But energy is just the beginning. Magnesium is also central to muscle relaxation, which is why shortages often show up as cramps, tightness, or twitching. It plays a major role in nerve signaling, influencing mood, stress response, and pain perception. It helps regulate the electrical stability of the heart, which is why it matters so much for cardiovascular health. It affects insulin signaling, linking it directly to blood sugar control and metabolic resilience. It influences blood vessel tone, shaping how your blood pressure responds to stress and activity. When you step back, a pattern emerges. Magnesium sits at the crossroads of the nervous system, metabolism, and cardiovascular function. These are not minor systems, they are the foundations. And when magnesium levels drop, even slightly below what your body prefers, the consequences don't arrive all at once, they ripple. Sleep becomes lighter, stress feels heavier, recovery slows. The body adapts, but it does so by borrowing from reserves it was never meant to live without. Which leads to an uncomfortable question. Are people actually low in magnesium? The answer depends entirely on what you mean by low. True, severe magnesium deficiency, the kind that shows up clearly on standard blood tests and requires urgent medical treatment, is relatively uncommon. If you're eating a reasonably varied diet and don't have major kidney or GI disease, you're unlikely to fall into that category. But there's a massive gap between not deficient and optimal, and that gray zone is where most people live. Modern diets quietly strip magnesium away. When grains are refined, magnesium is removed. White flour, white rice, processed cereals, staples of convenience, contain a fraction of the magnesium found in their whole food counterparts. At the same time, foods naturally rich in magnesium, leafy greens, legumes, nuts, seeds, whole grains, have slowly faded from everyday eating patterns. Then come the drains. Chronic stress increases magnesium loss through urine. Heavy sweating does the same. Alcohol accelerates excretion. Certain medications interfere with absorption or increase losses. Layer these factors on top of an already marginal intake, and you end up with a population that isn't clinically deficient, but isn't fully supported either. Not broken, just stretched thin. This is where confusion really takes hold.
because the next logical step seems obvious. If magnesium matters this much, shouldn't you just get a blood test and check your levels? For most nutrients, that would be a reasonable approach, but magnesium plays by different rules. Less than 1% of your body's total magnesium exists in the bloodstream. The overwhelming majority is stored inside cells, muscle tissue, and bone. Your body guards blood magnesium fiercely. The kidneys and bones work constantly to keep that number within a narrow range, even if deeper reserves are quietly declining. In practice, this means you can have a perfectly normal blood magnesium level while your tissues are running low. The test looks reassuring, the cells are still struggling. This is very different from nutrients like vitamin D, where blood levels reflect overall status quite accurately. And it's also very different from potassium, where blood levels are tightly linked to immediate cardiac risk, and supplementation without supervision can be dangerous. Magnesium sits between these extremes. For people with healthy kidney function, the body is remarkably good at getting rid of excess magnesium. If intake exceeds what you can absorb, the gut simply draws in water. Diarrhea appears long before toxicity ever becomes a concern. That's not a flaw, it's a built-in safety valve. This doesn't mean magnesium is risk-free for everyone. If you have kidney disease, the ability to excrete magnesium is impaired and levels can accumulate. If you have serious heart rhythm disorders or on medications that affect electrolyte balance, medical guidance matters. Context always matters. But for many otherwise healthy adults, a cautious, modest trial of magnesium does not require extensive testing beforehand. The more important question becomes, who actually benefits? Certain patterns show up again and again. People with poor sleep quality, especially those who struggle to wind down or stay asleep, often notice improvements. Individuals under chronic stress, mental, emotional, or physical, tend to have higher magnesium demands. Nighttime muscle cramps and restless muscles are classic clues. Migraines are another area where magnesium has consistently demonstrated benefit, often reducing both frequency and severity. Metabolic health is part of this story too. Magnesium plays a direct role in insulin signaling, and improving magnesium status can enhance insulin sensitivity. For those with elevated blood pressure, supplementation produces small but meaningful reductions, particularly when levels are already marginal. There are also groups with naturally higher losses or demands. People taking diuretics lose more magnesium through urine. Athletes training intensely lose it through sweat. Regular alcohol intake compounds losses. Diets low in whole plant foods make it difficult to replenish stores through food alone. When researchers look at randomized controlled trials, the strongest form of medical evidence, the results aren't flashy, but they are consistent. Magnesium modestly lowers blood pressure. It improves markers of glucose control. It reduces migraine frequency by a substantial margin in susceptible individuals. It improves subjective sleep quality for many people. These are not miracle cures. Magnesium doesn't override poor sleep habits, chronic overwork, or a diet built on ultra-processed food. But when the foundation is mostly in place, magnesium can help stabilize the system. And that brings us to an often overlooked detail. Not all magnesium supplements are the same. The form matters. Magnesium glycinate and magnesium citrate tend to be better absorbed and better tolerated. Magnesium oxide, commonly found in cheaper products, is poorly absorbed and more likely to cause digestive upset without delivering much benefit. Dosage matters too. Typical effective doses range from 200 to 400 milligrams of elemental magnesium per day. More is not better. Once absorption capacity is exceeded, the excess stays in the gut and pulls water with it. Loose stools are a signal, not a side effect to ignore. They're your body saying it's had enough. Starting low and increasing gradually is the smarter approach. Taking magnesium with food improves tolerance. Letting your body set the upper limit keeps things safe.
After all of this, it's tempting to look for a simple conclusion. Should you take magnesium or not? But that's the wrong frame. Magnesium is not a magic solution. It doesn't fix a life built on exhaustion, constant stress, and nutritional shortcuts. What it does instead is act like a signal, a quiet diagnostic tool. If someone begins supplementing magnesium and notices meaningful changes, deeper sleep, calmer nerves, fewer headaches, better energy, it's not because magnesium performed a miracle. It's because it revealed something about the baseline state of their body. It exposed a system that was running closer to empty than they realized. The goal was never to chase a number on a supplement label. The goal is to build a physiology that doesn't constantly need rescuing. Food remains the foundation. Leafy greens, nuts, seeds, legumes, whole grains. These foods don't just supply magnesium, they bring fiber, phytonutrients, and metabolic support that supplements can't replicate. Supplementation exists to support that base, not replace it. For some people, a short, thoughtful trial of magnesium makes sense. For others, improving diet alone is enough. What doesn't make sense is panic, megadosing, or assuming that because something helped someone else, it must be essential for you. Magnesium occupies a rare middle ground. It is absolutely essential to human life. It is often marginal in modern diets, and it is genuinely helpful for a subset of people, but it is not a universal prescription. Used deliberately, magnesium isn't a shortcut, it's a support. And like good medicine, it works best when layered on top of the fundamentals: sleep that actually restores you, stress that's managed rather than ignored, food that nourishes rather than fills, and movement that keeps the system resilient. That's the real conversation magnesium deserves. Not hype, not fear, just physiology, evidence, and context.